Well, good evening. Look, I'll say this gloomy evening, but for me, it's been a day of rest, truly a day of rest. And even as I was sitting here today, I just kind of like, okay, Lord, what? Like, what? What's the focus? What? It's been an interesting week. I've had to put some of these principles in place, the things that I have learned. I've had to put it in place. Whew. And all I can just say is, whew. But it makes sense too when you look at the teachings in the Bible and it tells you that in this life you will have troubles. Things are going to show up. And this is what I'm learning right now. Things are going to show up regardless. Let me turn this down a little bit. Regardless how much we know, how much we think we know, things are going to show up. And it makes sense to take everything one day at a time, sometimes one step at a time. Don't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow will take care of its own troubles. So I'm just, again, going back to the beginning and rebuilding and restructuring and renewing and realizing that it does not matter how much you think you know. Whatever it is you think you know, it's all about being so rooted and grounded in truth that when stuff shows up, you're able to put that knowledge that you've gained into application. So that's right now, that's just where I am on this journey. Um, did the video for YouTube, building the consciousness. I got my initial first session out, and more to come with that. Working on it, and that was a process as well. That was a process. Just so many things just seem to show up. But what 2 o'clock this morning, I think it was. I got it finished, but I got it done, and I learned a lot in that time frame. And so really not sure who's going to show up, who's going to come on. Like I said, I know it's been an interesting week for me, so I'm quite sure it's been an interesting week for a lot of people. It's been an interesting week. And sometimes it's just learning to, again, to be still, to just stand firm in the truth that I've come to know and allow spirit to work through me. And just know everything, regardless, everything will work in my favor. At the end of the day, everything will work in our favor. I know we've been taught to be busy. This, you got to work hard. But I think it's in Zechariah, I think in chapter 4. That's what I'm seeing, but it's somewhere in there. And it says, not by might, not by power, but by my spirit. But we've been told it's like the harder you work, the more you'll get ahead. And for me, it's just like, well, Lord, I've worked hard all my life, all my life. And not saying I'm lacking anything, but, when you look at others and you see certain things, in a song by Brian Courtney saying, this time I will be still. It's like, every time it seems like I try to do things right, and then sometimes things go wrong. But still, I'm going to be still and trust this process. Because at the end of the day, when I look back over my life, God has never failed me. Look, I'm doing, as a matter of fact, I'm looking here and then I'm looking here. I haven't figured out how to do, if I can do Facebook Live and YouTube Live at the same time on here. But so I got finally, Spirit says, get the other computer up and running and do YouTube Live. And And let me tell y'all, I'm still fighting that one because I said, Lord, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work trying to keep. So it came in my spirit to do it earlier. I didn't. Again, how spirit speaks to us and us, I didn't follow through. And just before, I was getting ready to get on here, like 10, 15 minutes before I got on, that little voice says, make sure you do YouTube Live. And I was like, the inner critic is like, what you doing that for? It's not going to make a difference. And it's not, my spirit keeps telling me it may not be for people now, but it's not like these videos will go away. It's just like you make the videos, you do what I tell you to do, and I am the one that will touch the people's hearts. I am the one that will send those that need to see. I did a little short thing, still trying to figure all this out. And I was surprised that there was, just truly 507 views. And I'm like, it was just this little short. And I was talking about how I'm amazed at how the universe works. But it's like I just don't know. So I have to just continue to push, even if it's just me on here. But it's usually always more than one person that comes on. And like I said, even if it's just me, it's not that it's, and then the fact that I do it Facebook Live, it's like, I don't know who may see this. I don't know who may be inspired down the road. And so I just keep on telling myself, and I keep pressing forward. I keep pressing forward. This continuous forward movement, not worrying about the hows and the whys and all that stuff. Just continue to trust in that inner voice and allow it to lead, guide, and direct me. Allowing it to lead, guide, and direct. And so for me today, there's so many things I could talk about, but I think I did enough last night. And it all deals with rebuilding. Let me move this over here. All about rebuilding. Are we willing to rebuild? I was looking up some things, and it says, Nicodemus asked, how can a man be born again unless he enters into his mother's womb? Because we look at the literal, we're always looking at the literal, the physical aspect of it. And we've, forgotten we're spiritual beings. And I was just looking up the word, look, I got it, being born. It says to bring forth by birth, to bring forth. And birth is the time when something begins. Birth. It's not on this journey. Yes, physically I did this, listen to spirit and did this sweet hour of prayer. I know it's been 4 years now, maybe going in my 5th year. I'm not even sure. I've lost track. But I've stayed steadfast. And it's like birth, the time when something begins, this sweet hour of prayer. I know it's been over 4 years now that it began. And then I gave, it came, oh, look, let me get my notes together. I got notes. And it's like it's being brought forth. And it's like, I don't know how many people it might have helped or touched. I know it's helped me. But again, it was talking about in John 3, when he was asking that, how can a man be born again? And Jesus said, except a man, and I'm like, not physical man, and I'm looking at it intellectually, our thought process. And human beings be born again, somebody else is coming in, be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of heaven. And as I'm reading this, it's just like, except a man, and that's the intellect, the will, the consciousness, be born again. It says, I'm saying he, and it's like, it cannot see the kingdom of heaven. If I'm still operating from the physical, just looking outside of myself, looking at everything outside of myself. How can I see the kingdom of heaven when the kingdom of heaven, Jesus said, was within us? And that word see means to discern or deduce mentally, to understand, to comprehend, to mentally grasp. Unless I can mentally grasp the truth, the spiritual truth, I can't see. I can't see the kingdom. And the kingdom is within me. And then it went on, that was verse 3. Then it went on to say again, except a man, and I'm thinking of the thought process, be born of water and of spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom. That which is born of flesh is flesh, and that which is born of spirit is spirit. And like I said, into, I was looking at that, see is to mentally grasp. Unless we can mentally understand spiritual things, not just the physical aspect of things, but spiritual things. And the main spiritual is, what am I thinking? Consciousness. What am I thinking? How am I feeling? This is how I'm looking at these things, and being aware of my thoughts. I'm aware of everything that's going on outside of me, born of the flesh, looking at it, getting caught up in it sometimes. But unless I can, mentally grasp the thoughts that I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, I can't really enter into the kingdom. I've got to be aware of my thought process. And again, it's like, this is just a lot of stuff I'm learning. It's almost as if, and I have to just say this, it's almost as if I'm feeling I'm truly starting all over. Truly starting all over. And enter into, the word into is expressing a change of state, expressing the results of an action, indicating an object of intention or interest. Unless I'm looking within myself, my state of mind, and change of state is the state of mind. Unless I can change my state of mind, I can't enter into the kingdom of heaven still having all this fear-based thinking. I can't enter into the kingdom of heaven if I've got all this anger going on inside of me. I can't enter into it. I've got to change my state of mind. And this is everything about building the temple, rebuilding. And then water. As it says, which is being born of water and spirit. Water has different aspects, but I said I'm going to look at these for right now for the purpose at hand for me. And water can represent cleansing. Water represents mental potentiality, and in some cases, it's life or vital energy. Living water, the inspiration of spirit, and then so that's water. There has to be a cleansing of my mindset. Then I have all this mental potentiality when I go through my cleansing process, and then I can tap into the kingdom. And then it's like spirit. It's the moving force. It's the moving force in the universe. It's the principle. It's the breath of life. All creation, principle of life. It's the fundamental truth as pertaining to God, the divine. It's creative intelligence. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? What is my mental? Am I thinking from a spiritual perspective? Am I thinking that I am created in the image and after the likeness of God? Am I thinking that I have dominion, power, and authority? Or am I caught up in the outside world? What's going on? And it's nothing wrong with looking at, being aware of what's going on the outside, but am I more caught up in what's going on the outside? And it's affecting me on the inside. So these are things that I'm learning, and I'm going to continue to learn and work through. And again, I wrote this down. We always hear people talk about the word of God, the word of God. The Bible is the word of God, the word of God. A word is a spoken thought or idea in the Bible. Not saying it's true, not saying it's false. It's some thoughts that these ancient people thought about. A word is a spoken thought, inspired by God. God is still inspiring us all today if we take the time to be in its presence. It's not this book is not the all too. It can be of assistance, but the truth is, the true word comes from the inside. Is when I tap into that presence and power within me and learn to listen to it, learn to follow its guidance. That's to me, this book is full of golden nuggets of insight and perspectives that these people encountered, whoever the writers were, that these people encountered. Not saying there's anything wrong with it, but what I am saying, what I'm learning is God has not stopped speaking to us. That which we call God, the universe, is always. And I say the universe because the universe encompasses everything. That life force encompasses everything. It speaks with. Sometimes I'm just amazed at how all this stuff works. When I open myself up and all the creative process, and I'm looking at all these things, and it's just like, man, how did these fish? I was just watching this YouTube, these in the foreign countries, they were cooking, and these beautiful fish, the colors, and I was just saying, oh my God, how did all that happen? How? The creative force, all these creatures in the sea, everything on the earth. I just stop and I am just so amazed at it. The trees, it's not just one tree, it's various trees. It's just not one kind of humanity. The universe created all colors, textures of hair, colors of skin, short, tall, you name it. And I'm just so amazed. When I open myself up and now I'm looking and I'm seeing even the littlest thing, these little fruit flies. And I say to myself, I say, God, how do these things know it's fruit in here? Where do they come from? So I'm just amazed at creation in and of itself. I'm just so amazed. And then to know that I am created in it, the image and after the likeness of it. And I have dominion, power, and authority. But it only works if I work it. It's easy to sit back and just go through life, just, whatever. But to know that we are creators, we can create the life in the world that we want. We have that ability. And again, it starts on the inside, but it can't really work for us until we tap into, there has to be this cleansing and clearing, because we got to go back in and rebuild the temple, because we got some stuff going on. Maybe y'all don't, but I know I got some stuff that I'm still learning to work through, some belief systems I'm still learning to work through. So it's interesting. So it's like when that opportunity comes to just be able to sit in the silence. Today it's rainy and it's just like, so I had plans to do some other things, but I guess the universe said, no, you're going to sit today. And that's what I have done. I'm going to, I sat and I'll sit this evening. Probably do some more research, but, just taking that time to connect within myself, understanding my thoughts, looking at my thoughts, the thoughts that come to me, as opposed, again, I talk about this all the time. We've been taught to suppress our feelings and suppress this and suppress that. You shouldn't feel this way. You shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. But we need to know, becoming aware of, why do I feel the way I feel? Why am I hurt? Why am I going through this? Learning to detach. We become so attached to feelings. Attached. And it's like learning to detach. I have had a situation, and it's still, I'm working through it. My baby, I've had him for 7 years. He got out, and I was ready to just have a boo-hoo. But then Spirit says, no, detach. It's like detach Feel it, Dorothy, okay? But you can't just pray that he's with whoever has him, he's with a family that's going to take good care of him, or he'll show up at the shelter or something like that. And, you know, and I'm working, again, that's something I'm working through because I've had him for 7 years. Like my other dog, Joy, had her for 12 years before, had to have her put down. And it's like we become attached emotionally, again, emotionally attached. So we got to look at these emotions, work through some certain emotions. Got so emotionally attached to him. He was spoiled rotten. But again, learning to just work through it, feel it for the moment, and then let it go. I can't sit back and I pulled a card today, and it's interesting because I wasn't going to talk about it. A worry card. It says, I'm learning that worrying doesn't change an outcome, because I was trying to worry about, who might have him, how this is going to be, how, all, and that inner critic just started like, what if this and what if that? And it's like, I can't worry about it. I lit a candle for him, and I'm going to trust that because he's a good dog, spoiled dog, that wherever he may be and whoever may have gotten him, and I do believe someone, got him because he's a purebred, that they, they'll take good care of him. And I believe they will because he is a good dog. And if it's for him to come back to me, he'll find his way back. I've heard of times where people have lost their dogs, and 10 years later, the dog ended up finding its way back. So if it's to be, it'll be. If not, I bless him and bless them, and I move on. Move on. And so with that being said, I'm looking at the time. That's really all. Again, it's about building, going within, looking at myself. We still can be in this world, but not of this world, everything of this world. We still, I think that was some of the teachings, being in this world, but not being of the world, getting so caught up in all the stuff. And we know how it is, the news, what's going on, Trump and all these other people and this person, politics of everything. We can get so caught up into it until we forget to take care of our own spiritual needs. So this is just an area, again, that I'm learning to work through. So let us just take this moment and just say, take that moment and go within, tap into the presence and power within us. I'm going to look. I don't know if you can hear it. Might be too loud. Again, as I sit here this moment, just breathing in to say the principles, the divine substance of life itself, the breath, everything, life itself is all connected and bonded together through the breath. Say, even underwater, there has to be something. I'm still amazed, but they are able to breathe in this water and let it out, however they do it underwater. But there's this life force underneath the water that takes place that we cannot possibly, because we breathe fresh air, and then how the animals can't live outside the air, but then there's some animals that can. They go into the water, and then be under there for hours, days, whatever, but then they have to come up and then they have to breathe some regular air. When I just open myself up and just looking at this creative force, and I'm just thinking now, it's like we have that same ability to go deep within ourselves and breathe in this inspiration from the inside of us. This divine life force that's on the inside, deep inside. And then when we go deep within, we will find that there's all sorts of divine ideas, fish of the sea, of every kind on the inside, in the kingdom. Beautiful colors. Oh my goodness, beautiful colors. But taking the time, not being so distracted by the outside world. Be aware of what's going on. It says watch as well as pray. Watch, looking at the outside, but not being so consumed by it. Communication, pray is just to communicate. Looking at my thoughts. Are they in alignment with the words that I speak? Or am I just saying stuff just because I've heard it, but it's really not what I'm feeling on the inside? And even in this process of when we make that decision to rebuild, to allow the spirit within us to rebuild the temple, it's like, are we willing to go through the process? The children of Israel, the promised land, they couldn't complete the process without murmuring and complaining. And that happens with us because it doesn't go the way and I'll say with me, things don't go the way I want them to go or think they should go. And then I'm ready to jump ship. But just as with when a seed is planted in the ground, it's a process. There has to be this germination period. Even when a woman becomes pregnant, when those two aspects come together, it's a process. It's a 9-month process. And here sometimes we pray and ask for things because it does not happen instantaneously. We jump ship and then we go our own way and we try to make things happen our way. And what ends up happening a lot of times, we can do some things, but it doesn't last. I found that out. And I have to end up going back and starting over. So we have to ask ourselves, are we really ready? It says your yes. Be careful when you say yes. Ooh, be careful when you say yes. Now, if you just want to say yes to the ego or yes to the outside man, then fine. But be careful when you say yes to the presence and power within. And say, I'm ready. Because first and foremost, there's going to be this, I don't know the word of this germination period. But there's going to be this cleansing process that has to take place. And how long that takes is dependent upon our willingness to let go. Because it's got to clean the house. Got to go in and clean it up. Gotta clean it up. So are we willing? And even if you're willing, it's like be patient with yourself. Spirit is not rushing us. We're the ones that rush the process. It's not God rushing us. The cleansing process can take a while. It's going to take a while. But we don't have to rush the process. That's what I'm learning. If I fall short, I get back up and I keep trying. The universe, that which we call God, doesn't hold grudges. You fall short, you fall short. It's going to continue to be what it is. I talked about it last night. So people's like, God, through our stuff, God gets the glory. It's glory. It doesn't need, I still think about that now. It doesn't need to get glory because it's already glory. It's already what it is. I do not change. It does not change. It's always good. It's always an abundance. It's always perfect, whole, and complete. So it doesn't need to get glory out of us. It is glory. We need to line up. That's how I'm looking at it. I need to line up. Unify myself with the good that's always available. It's not just available sometimes, it's always available. I just need to do the work. Being patient within ourselves. Be patient with yourself. When the inner critic starts talking, we have the power and authority to tell it, hey, not today, stand down. I'm on a whole nother journey. I see you, but no, not today. Not today. It's simple. This journey is simple. It says my way is easy. It said my burdens are light. It's simple, but yet and still it can be hard. And the hardness comes from because I've got to release and let go. I've got to learn, unlearn, relearn. And that word attachment is coming to me. We're so attached to feelings and belief systems till it's hard to let go sometimes. My ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. So all these thoughts that I have and think I got it together, Spirit says that's just how you thinking. That's not necessarily how I'm thinking. This is the direction I want you to go in. And I find myself trying to fight it. Lord, can I do it this way? Because it feels, and do it this way because it feels comfortable for me. But I got to get ready to be uncomfortable. Choices. Choose throughout the day. Do I want to follow Spirit, that inner guidance, that still small voice? Or do I want to follow that inner critic, the one I created, the one I gave power and authority to? So I work through the process. I'm going to keep on working through the process. And at this moment, I'm just grateful. in spite of the things that took place this week, the situations, people that got a little under my skin or whatever the case may be, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. In spite of the loss, I'm grateful. Grateful. So as we get ready to go our separate ways, one of the things I can say in the daily inspiration, it talks about the bonds that bind us. And regardless to who comes on today, who may not come on, or whatever the case may be, I know that there is a bond between us. Those that are on, those that have been on, there's still that bond that connects us all. I wanted to send out special energy and love to Reverend George Harris, to Reverend Alice Brown. She comes in my spirit. Barbara Floyd. Special blessings to them. So Betty Owens. I know that in that family realm, there was someone that made their transition here. Again, these are young people in their 50s that are dealing with so many challenges, health challenges. And then you hear people say, oh, it's the will of God. How can God's will be for us to suffer? That's not God's will. God's will is not for us to suffer. Suffering comes because we've forgotten. We got so caught up on the outside. Again, the Love family, Reverend Andrea's sister, that family realm, Doris Bush, Rosita, Janet and Patricia that are on here, for myself, my brother, my children, my grandchildren. Let me continue to try my best to be a light unto myself first and foremost. And again, I'll say, because if I can't be a light unto myself, I can't be a light to anyone else. To thine own self be true. So I'm striving to be a light unto myself. And I'm grateful for that presence and power that dwells within me, that dwells within everything. And again, I'm going to say thank you, blessings to each and every one as we go about our nights. Say, may we all rest in sweet peace. So it is. Good night.